Okay, so take 3. Hello you guys, welcome to SpaceEngine Exploration. I'm sorry I did not actually get a video up this morning. I've had a pretty busy day. And I just tried recording a video and the recording totally crashed on me and it was corrupted and I couldn't use the file. So that was a half hour wasted, but nonetheless, trying it again. Anyways, I'm just gonna start out by saying, I think I'm at 118 subscribers. So since I did that 100 subscriber video to now, I'm already up to 118. So, I mean, we're already like 1/5 of the way to 1/5 of the way to another 100 subscribers. I mean, that's absurd, and you guys are amazing. But one of the requests I kind of overlooked and totally forgot about was Mimas. I went ahead and visited Mimas, and yeah, the video recording crashed, but a little bit of a brief overview. I forget who suggested this to me, I'm sorry. Only one person did, you know who you are. Sorry about that. And this is known as the Death Star world because it looks like the Death Star, given its giant crater there, and resembles it a lot. This isn't really the optimal shading for it because we have Saturn right there, kind of filling in the background, and it's also illuminating the planet from its other side, so it doesn't really give the good illusion of the Death Star. But one thing that this game has is the moon itself is not fully rendered, so it kind of has like some messed up textures here. So it's not this geometry is not fully done properly, but over here it looks pretty detailed. So yeah, that's been Miss. Really cool little moon orbiting Saturn, and as you could probably I had up in my F2 menu there. That was the last planet I visited, which I will visit in this video, don't worry about that. And one thing I just want to go over is that I think the game needs to work on its ring generation, because Saturn, as you could tell, has some really beautiful rings. It goes from like a blue color to a nice white, to blue again, to like a nice little purple color, to like a really cool like gold, and then bronzish copper color, and then fades off into white again, and a little bit of purple there. And I feel like they really worked on Saturn. Like, Saturn is a really good example of something that's just absolutely beautiful to look at in the game. And this is definitely a planet done correctly. I feel like the ring systems on other planets really need to have, like, this level of detail that Saturn has. Because, yeah, like I said, this is just amazing looking. And it's kind of a shame that they just don't look as good as Saturn's. I feel like Saturn is a perfect example of, like, just a really well done gas giant. Let's go ahead and start with the requests. So I have been asked to visit SGC 1313, which I've already visited, but let's go ahead and go there anyways. Now, to keep this video short, I'm not going to really explore anything in the galaxy, except for the galaxy itself. So here we go. This is SGC 1313, which I have the wiki up right here in another tab. You guys cannot see that. The galaxy actually resembles the image pretty well, except for like a few details and stuff. It's kind of a low-res image they use here, but nonetheless, it looks pretty good. It has like the nice Z shape to it that it has like in real life. But one thing that we must visit if we're visiting a galaxy is going to its central black hole. So let's go ahead and zoom in and find that, which I do believe is going to be this bright dot right here. It's always a bright blue dot, and then once you zoom in, it pops in full detail. Where is it at? I might have flown past it. There it is. There we go. And there is its little black hole. Now, one thing I found interesting about this one is this is actually, if I can select it right away. Oh, flew into it. Surprise. See if I can select the black hole, which is sometimes difficult on these smaller ones. Well, I say smaller, this is a huge black hole. There we go. I got the black hole selected. And if I select this, if you actually look at all these star names, there is actually no white dwarfs orbiting around it, which is actually pretty typical for black holes, and this is actually the very first one I've seen, supermassive black hole in the center of a galaxy, that does not actually have a white dwarf orbiting around it, so very interesting. Anyways, that was a quick little visit of this galaxy. Let's go ahead and move on to the next request, and that would be from a small white dog, and he wants me to visit REB, which is right here. Now his comment says that it is the planet with the most suns, and that is actually not true. If you actually look around, there is actually only 3 stars in this entire system, and there's actually only 1 planet. So I don't know what that's actually based off of, whether it's like real life or something like that. But in the game, there's only 3 stars here, and there's only 1 gas giant that's actually been discovered in this area, and it doesn't even actually have any moons, I don't believe. So yeah, but one thing I did want to show you was if I go ahead and bring up the star search here, and I just type in 1,000 light years. There we go. Click off of that and go to filter settings and just hit OK. It will initiate a search. I could have just pressed the search button as well. And I'll just go ahead and give this a moment to load. Pretty much immediately we found an actual system that we've actually named and everything. It actually has 4 stars orbiting around it, which we have a white main sequence star with a planet. And if we go back, we have, I think I just selected the same thing. Yeah, so we have a system of 4 stars, but I've found more than that. I've found 6-star systems and all sorts of stuff. So let's just go ahead and fly somewhere else in the galaxy, like over here, where it's very densely populated, and just run the search again. So here we go, the search has ended, and I found a system with 5 stars. Here's one with a lot more stars in that system, and if you actually checked out my video where I visited a constellation that I forgot the name of, it actually had a 4-star system or something like that, or even more, I believe. It was actually a very interesting looking system, and it was actually one that I looked at when I was a kid. Anyways, to explain this star system, it looks like we have a set of 2 bodies here orbiting around each other, but these bodies consist of, in this case, it is 1 large main sequence star with what looks like 2 stars over here, which are possibly just orange dwarfs. Yes. So we have 2 orange dwarfs orbiting around each other, orbiting around this much bigger star, probably in this general area right here. So if I select this, it's not actually showing me. It's these 2 stars orbiting around each other's central mass, orbiting around the central mass of these 2 stars acting as 1 body orbiting around this larger body here. And then what we have going on over here is this is orbiting around the central mass of these bodies over here, which should just be 2. It looks like 2, which it looks like we actually have a neutron star. Okay, so this system just got a lot more interesting, because we actually have a neutron star over here. Very cool. That was actually a pretty rare find, so just as an added bonus, here's a neutron star with this beautiful lensing effect. I always love these things. Mainly because I can just turn it around, and where's that star at? Anyways, yeah, so if you want to visit this neutron star, the ID's up here in the top left. Very interesting little system here. And this is an example of like something you can find with a lot more bodies in just the general system. So another request from a small white dog, just like this one. He wants me to visit IC1101. I've been there, but I'm going to go back. Why? Because IC1101 is always fun to visit. So let's go ahead and go to this galaxy, which is the largest galaxy we can see in our night sky. We used to think it was a nebula, but we discovered it was actually a big, very, very large galaxy. And this game renders something very cool in the center of it, and I'll show you in just a second. Now, a lot of you know what this is, especially my subscribers, because I've actually made a lot of videos on IC1101. But as I get closer to the center here, it likes to just pop in. There it is. Look how huge this black hole is. This thing is massive. Literally. And I have been sucked into it. Let's see if I can escape this black hole real quick. Okay, I'm lost. Help. There we go. Okay, so I've selected the black hole, and the closest object to it is my most favorite object next to it, and it is this little white dwarf here. So, and it has this little tiny accretion disk looking adorable compared to that accretion disk. Anyways, let's go ahead and zoom out here, and yeah, if you guys have not actually seen this before, the accretion disk on this thing is huge. In fact, sitting right here, I'm about, let's see if I can select that, I'm about 1.4 light years away from the actual black hole itself, making the total length from edge to edge of this black hole 2.8 light years. So this is an incredibly large accretion disk. And just being anywhere near this globular cluster here, this star cluster, well, you'd probably just die from radiation. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next object, again from a small white dog. He wants me to visit J1407b, which I've actually been to J1407. Let me just punch in the ID here. And let's go ahead and go to the object. And here it is. Check out this lovely star. It is an orange dwarf. It's actually pretty interesting because if you actually look at these sunspots here, they're actually pretty detailed. They look really good. Let me zoom out a little bit, and it just looks really cool. And what's even awesome about it, it's actually like fully 3D rendered too. So it actually dips in where the sunspots are. And yeah, I just I love this orange dwarf. It just looks amazing. And yeah. Anyways, if you want to visit 1S WASP J1407, the ID is in the top left. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. No, I'm messing with you guys. That's actually what we want to look for. And this is J1407b, which is a gas giant with a super large ring system. I explained this in my previous video, but how we discovered it was essentially, you see how that lens flare is actually flickering there? Well, this is basically our perspective from Earth. This actually orbits the star pretty quickly. So we could actually witness this pretty often. But what will happen is this planet will orbit in front of this star and it'll start flickering until it gets to about the halfway point right here. And then it just completely disappears from our vision. Well, it has a pattern to it. And then once it gets to the center part, it starts flickering in an inverse pattern. So that's what makes us think it's a ring system. Not only that, but we're not too sure if this is a super large gas giant here, or if this is actually a brown dwarf. Because if it's a brown dwarf and all this actually gets absorbed into it and actually creates a star, that would actually make this a planetary system, like our solar system, for example. And in between each one of these gaps is very likely an asteroid or a moon or something. And this is what we think an early gas giant system starts as, is a very large ring system. Eventually each one of these rings will condense into a either planet or moon, which will be orbiting around this gas giant. Kind of similar to what we have for like Jupiter, which does actually have a ring system if you did not know. If we go over to Jupiter, here we go, let's go ahead and go to Jupiter. You can actually see its rings in the game. They're very faint, but they are there. So here's Jupiter, you can see the moon's axis, and there's the rings right there. They're not too visible, but you should be able to see them. They're kind of a faint gray. Well, as you can tell, between each one of these rings, there's actually a small asteroid, which this is Amathea, which in my last take actually is the asteroid I visited, so pretty cool that I selected that again. But yeah, as you can tell, there's actually a lot of moons around Jupiter, and they actually span out pretty far. Like, very far. Like, there's one way out here. And do they go any further? I don't think so in the game. Yeah, I'm not seeing any out further. But yeah, Callisto over here, which is actually, I believe, one of Jupiter's larger moons. It certainly is, and that is a very detailed texture they have going on there. Was one of these rings at one point and actually condensed into that moon. So very cool. But this does not only apply to gas giants. As I mentioned, that could potentially be a brown dwarf or turn into a brown dwarf, which would make it essentially a protostar or a failed star. And if into a protostar, that would actually make it a star system. See, the way that we believe our solar system started with our lovely star Sol was we had a giant ring system which eventually condensed into planets. And a remnant of this ring system is actually the asteroid belt that's between, I believe, Jupiter and Saturn, or is that between Mars and Jupiter? I forget. I do believe that's actually between Mars and Jupiter. And I believe this is our lovely home planet right here, fourth planet from the sun. This is Earth. Did I say fourth? I meant third. No, Mars is the fourth. I'm an idiot. Anyways, yeah. So, that is just a quick little history lesson, and yeah, very interesting that everything basically just starts with a big disk of dust. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next request. And this one is from Vibrative. He says, dude, oh my god, visit this, random star, very long ID. I'll copy paste that in real quick. Okay, let's go ahead and hit OK, and it is a white dwarf. Now, as you can tell, I was just at a white dwarf, but what makes this one actually very interesting is, one, the accretion disk rotates around this thing very quickly. Let me go ahead and pause the game. That was real time, by the way. And we actually have life planets orbiting around this white dwarf. I do believe I've actually visited something similar before, but nonetheless, this is very cool. Because it's tidally locked with a white dwarf, which has a nice blue glow, by the way. And this is actually a really nice dark blue planet. I don't see a frozen layer on the outer edges. I do see a volcano there just kind of glowing away. But it has a really cool sunset with like a kind of nice orange setting. Let's go ahead and zoom out here and let's go ahead and visit some areas. Now, as you can tell, it looks like it probably had some collisions with some pretty large craters. Judging by these like indents right here, that could be a possibility. But if we zoom in, we have our life textures, which it looks like it's either the mossy texture or the kind of grassy plain texture that they're using here. And it kind of rendered like some desert-style hills here. Now, as always with life-bearing tidally locked planets, this area is probably super hot and anything within the storm is probably dead. The game does not render that, though. And the inhabitable areas are more than likely going to be these areas where it's transitioning to the dark area of the planet, so kind of like a belt right here. Now, one thing that's interesting is this planet actually orbits the star every 16 Earth days, so it's actually going around it pretty quickly. And what do we got over here that's shining this color? Okay, so that's just water and the star shining off of it. But what's more interesting is this one over here that is actually tidally locked. It's actually a really cold planet. It's actually only 15 degrees Celsius, and that's due to its greenhouse effect. If I zoom in, it has a really cool blue look. I'm just going to mention that. Like, this is a beautiful planet. But it has a really cool blue atmosphere, and it consists of mostly CO2 and nitrogen. And that looks like the mossy kind of treetop texture or something like that. And I think this one, I think the last time I visited, I did confirm that it had a... Yes, it does transition to an ice layer at the edge here. But this one, you would probably be able to live a little bit further out into the storm, so you'd probably be able to span out like this far away to the edges of this storm. And over here is probably quite warm, but probably nowhere near as hot as the other planet. Anyways, these are super cool and a really awesome suggestion, so I do appreciate that. And if you want to visit this yourself, the ID is, as always, in the top left corner. So here's another one from Vibrative, and he wants me to visit HIP 1417-8 and the fourth planet. So let's go ahead and bring this in. Okay, so here we go. And it is a gas giant, which next to it we have a desert with life, which is really detailed and has these lovely kind of purplish blue rings going on, which I'm just going to show for example. The star behind it does not have the cool effects that Saturn has. But let's go ahead and zoom in. We have a lovely cloud layer here. It's not too detailed, but it's a nice orange. And one thing I noticed about this planet is it's very rocky and it's very flat. But this is not actually what we're here to visit. And I love this nice blue layer. And there's some mountains right there with some white ice caps on it. What he wants me to visit is actually this gas giant here, which has 2 planets orbiting around it with life. So we have an Oceania. These aren't really too interesting because you can't actually explore the life on them. It actually looks very Earth-like, and its composition is mostly CO2 and oxygen. But what's cool is the temperate Terra over here, which is much more Earth-like. This atmospheric composition is actually a lot of oxygen, CO2, and what's SO? Right, sulfur dioxide. That's what I figured it was. So, yeah. And as you can tell, it has a beautiful cloud layer. This one's actually much more detailed than the last planet we visited. And in the sky there, you can see our parenting gas giant. And this also kind of fills in one of the requests that somebody wanted me to visit, and that was visit a really cool planet with life around a gas giant, which you can see in the sky even when it's not nighttime. So this is a really awesome planet, and we'd actually probably be able to inhabit this one. So, very cool. Love the detail. Love the atmosphere's look. It's not blue, but it's got like a white atmosphere to it. Beige color. Let's go ahead and move on to the next request, and my next request is yet again J1407, but we've been there. And that would be from Mike Torres. We have one from Derp Sauce Gaming, and that would be go to Miranda, which I do believe is a moon of Uranus. That might be a moon of Uranus. Yes, that was correct. That was Uranus. I was thinking it was either Jupiter or Uranus. And here it is. Okay. He said it had very interesting terrain. What glitch? What happened was, a lot of the moons use satellite images, like images that we've kind of recorded with satellites and stuff, and just, you know, like doing like flybys and stuff. And what'll happen is we'll only see like one side of the moon itself, so we can only get like a high-res image of one side. The rest is just kind of approximated and kind of generated and whatnot, and that's why it just looks bad on this side. What's going on here is the game is generating terrain for the detailed side, and it's kind of messing up and making it too intense, as you could tell. And on the other side, where it's approximated, it's just completely flat. So I think that's actually what's going on here with this. I don't think it's actually intended to have terrain like this. But nonetheless, that looks kind of interesting because there's like ravines and stuff right here. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting little find. And I have yet again 3 more requests from Vibrative. Come on, man, you gotta, like, you know, you're requesting way too much. Try to span it out across videos, like every video or so, just like 1 or 2 requests. Don't give me like 10. That's an exaggeration. 5. Okay, so you want me to go to A3 in this system, and it looks like we are in one of the Magellatic Clouds. Is that our Milky Way? No, that's Andromeda. Okay, that's interesting. Let's go ahead and get that selected again. Okay, so we have a red dwarf system, which... Whoops. It looks like we have one with life. I assume this is the one you want me to visit. We have a cool Terra with life, but judging by the preview... Oh yeah, that's actually a very interesting one. It's another tidally locked planet with a lovely, really awesome looking purple color. I really love the way this atmosphere looks. That's actually really cool. And it looks like we have an ice layer over here. Which, yeah. You can kind of see the sunset here, and the lovely Andromeda galaxy just really standing out there in the background. So if we actually land on this planet, can we see that through the atmosphere? You can kind of see the Andromeda galaxy through the atmosphere. We have a beautiful sunset and a really detailed cloud layer. So very cool. There is the parenting star. And this planet has life, so let's see if we can find some life. That's a very shiny volcano. And that looks like a dirt texture. More dirt textures. So I'm not actually finding any life on this planet so far. Just looks like a lot of dirt. Am I missing something here? Oh, it's marine life, so that explains why I can't find it. Let's go ahead and check out this other Terra with life over here. Which looks like it'd be a little bit more Earth-like. It looks like it's mostly CO2, but the secondary gas on the planet is oxygen, then nitrogen, then sulfur dioxide, which gives us a really cool teal kind of atmosphere here. And looks like it is a very bright planet. Is this tidally locked? No, it's not tidally locked. It's just very bright in the Andromeda galaxy view. So if we actually go to the night sky here, let's just go to the night sky real quick. Here, and we can see the Andromeda galaxy pretty clearly. Just wanted to check that out real quick. And let's see what kind of life textures we can find here. So immediately I'm seeing rocks. Almost looks like a beach. Yeah, it looks kind of like a beach texture, even though there's no water anywhere near this area. And if I go over to, let's say, these mountains over here, what do we have? Looks like a lot more rocks. It almost looks like Mars surface. In fact, that's actually that might be where those clippings are from, the rocky texture here. That might be like Mars satellite textures or something. Or like the Curiosity rover, like taken from a screenshot there. And for a second there, I thought this little area looked like a skull. I was about to say, is that like something that just hid there? And again, I'm not seeing life tech. Oh, it's because it's another marine planet. Okay. We have what looks like a cold desert over here with some beautiful black rings. I just wanted to check that out because of black rings, but let's go ahead and zoom into the planet and let's check out our view. So there's our parenting star, and you can see it kind of shining on the rings over there. Not too much, though, because they're very opaque. The cloud layer looks pretty detailed, and actually is kind of giving me kind of a more yellowish Mars vibe, but there is actually a blue atmosphere here, it looks like, once you get past the cloud layer. Anyways, let's see what else. Okay, so we have another one from Vibrative. Let's go ahead and visit RS-1229. A4, which is a cool Terra with life, and... is this where I just was? Oh, okay. These are all 3 suggestions for the same system. Okay, that makes sense. Well, my mistake. Okay, so the next request is from, this is not interesting. He wants me to visit Pandora, which is an Easter egg area. I've actually tried to visit this before. And what he's saying is, he thinks, yeah, so I can't actually visit this because there was a system called Pandora, I do believe in 0.9.0 or 0.9.7 or whatever. And, yeah, essentially I can't visit that because of the version I'm using. I'm not willing to actually downgrade my version just because that would be a little bit of a hassle to have to toggle between versions for requests and stuff. And all of these other IDs you've given me only work in 9.7.0, so yeah, they're not actually loading up in this one. I've tested them all, and if I hit escape here, you can see this is the version I'm using. So please only try to give me requests for 9.8.0. That would make things a lot easier for me. And yeah, that's basically all I wanted to say. I'll try visiting this system anyways. And yeah, it didn't load, so yeah, it's just not loading, so yeah. Anyways, yeah, 9.8 requests, please. And I think that is all I have for requests. Apart from SGC 339, let me try that. Okay, yeah, SGC 339 is not loading. Yeah, and since it was mentioned a lot, let's go to US Katai or Scuddy, which is this big thing. It's giant meatball. It is a very big giant star. 15 astronomical units, so this thing would span out to basically consume Jupiter and very quickly eat up Saturn. And this is a very big star. Yeah, basically if it was placed where our sun is, it would basically span out so far and consume Jupiter. This is the biggest star we found, and it is probably very unstable. It is a basically, what is it, variable star, so its size changes constantly, like on a weekly to monthly basis. And yeah, very cool star, very big. The only reason why I actually visited here is because a lot of people have been requesting that, not really requesting, but a lot of people have been mentioning the star, and that this is actually the biggest star. I'm aware. The reason why I chose Canis Majoris is because if you actually Google up, like, what is the biggest star on Google, like that exact phrase, it'll tell you Canis Majoris. So there's like conflicting information, but sizes show that US Scuddy or Scuti or whatever, however you want to pronounce it, is actually the biggest star that we know of. But nonetheless, I think I'm going to end the video here. This took 3 takes. It is 34 minutes long, but I'm sure I'm going to be cutting some out. And yeah, if you guys like the video, please leave it a like. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. It really does help. Again, 118 already. You guys, that is way too generous. Like that was like 18 subscribers basically overnight. I'm sorry I did not get a video out this morning, like I said in the comments of my latest video. Like recording was just too complicated today. And yeah, even when I did want to record tonight, it took me like 3 takes to actually get this to work because, well, OBS kept crashing on me. And yeah, anyways, yeah, I'll see you guys.